Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
I don't want to force anything, but did you feel like the D-line took a step forward in this game?
Yeah, what's wrong? That's not forcing it. Just the negative. The negative things can't be like this, and then the positive things are like, well, I don't. It's okay to say something positive. They'll still subscribe and listen. I promise, guys. It's okay to be positive too. All right, I'm just teasing. You know I love you. We're proud of those stats. We're proud of being in the tops in the country at throwing the ball. We're proud of being tops in the country at stopping the pass. Some areas we have to improve upon. We know that, but I do think the hidden ones are the penalties, the special teams, the turnover margin. The thing with those things though is they don't carry over. And that's the biggest, I would rather be +1 every game in the turnover margin than be +6 on the year. Like, I just want to win it every game because that gives you a chance.
Overpass. Still alive. Walks across the tape. It's out. And a dominant night for Nebraska, sweeping Penn State on the road.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, Part 2. It's deja vu all over again. We went live about a half hour ago, had some technical difficulties. We're starting it up again. And so I'm Redcast Honky, your host, and I'm with Redcast Boomer.
Well, Honky, obviously we didn't handle our previous podcast a half hour ago very well. We'd lost some people, midstream and didn't come out with the right energy to start the game, and StreamYard disconnected on us, and the travel, with Abby's, and before you know it, it's our responsibility though. We'll have to get things done. So.
You're sounding a lot like James Franklin right now, Boomer, and the excuses are flying. But you know what? That's all right. I'm with the Redcast Rob.
Well, now that my old hot take is completely gone from my memory, I will just allow the entire social media world to know that it is official. Abby is no longer allowed to push buttons.
There you go. There's the finger pointing. Rob, there's no thumb. There's all finger with.
Hey, you know what? She's already said she was going to be accountable, so I'm just going to throw her under the bus right now, or train in her instance, because I think she's at a train station right now.
Well, and we talked about Rob or Boomer. You talked about the travel. Redcast Abby, she's out there in Chicago. Big Ten Media Days tomorrow. The men's and women's basketball. Redcast Abby, how you doing?
I am great. Rob's correct. I'm not allowed to push buttons while I'm on my phone. Bad things happen. And I'm going to repeat my hot take and just say that if Jim Rose was here, he would really appreciate maybe having an extra day of travel, because clearly mentally a mess right now.
Well, we were a mess there for a little bit. And actually at the same time that was happening with Abby pushing the button, I lost my internet here too, which is not the first time that's happened down in Roca, Nebraska. Redcast Rob, anything you can do to get Allo down here sooner than later, I'd really appreciate that. But a combination of all of this, we are starting it back up here again. And the good news is that we're not talking about a loss in any of the sports right now. This is nothing but good, positive feelings, and the show is that it's okay to be positive, as Coach Rhule said that in the opening video. I think in the manner of time, we will probably go straight into our tweets of the week, and that'll get us going here. But just to give a quick recap to the weekend, though, the Huskers win homecoming against Michigan State, win it by 11 points. And the volleyball team, just absolute destruction there with Penn State. I think that opened a lot of eyes. And then they finished the sweep out there on the East Coast, beating Rutgers as well. But let's go ahead. Let's get into the tweets of the week. And we're going to actually, I haven't even opened up the first screen yet. So let me share this. And Boomer, I'm going to start with you on this first one. And this is from Brandon Zimmerman. And it's the preseason number 1, Texas, and number 2, Penn State, and number 4, Clemson are all combined 8-7 after week 6. And I can't think of another season where 3 of the top 4 preseason teams are out of the rankings by early October. That's amazing to me. And then even to top that off is that Joseph's response down here. He says those 8 combined wins are against Nevada, FIU, Villanova, San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston, Troy, and North Carolina. So not exactly a murderer's row. And I guess where I want to take it with you here to get your thoughts is that a lot of people, we can look at Nebraska right now and say there's all kinds of warts and issues that Nebraska has, but I could also make the argument, why not rank us? We're 4-1. People want to rank Cincinnati. They're 4-1 and we beat them. And I know that we're not great, but name a couple teams outside of maybe Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State and Miami, that everyone's got some warts on them. And so this goes back to our point about, it's okay to be positive, is that, I think that there's a lot that we can talk about that Nebraska needs to improve on, but I'm looking at this and there's a lot of positive too. I mean, rank us, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got to rank somebody. You got 25 slots to fill. I mean, heck, why not at this point? And, this tweet just goes really into what we've been, when we said we've been flogging the crowd like equine all season on this already, about how these preseason rankings really aren't based on anything in particular, kind of just based on feelings or also importantly branding, and why these teams stayed in the rankings as long as they did was just brand name. Because if you look at that slate of teams they beat, not one of them proved anything of consequence all season. I mean, what's the best win out of that slot there? I mean, there isn't a great win out of there. I'm not even sure what the rankings or the records are of any of those teams, but I certainly wouldn't call that much of a murderer's row. I mean, that's like an Indiana non-conference schedule for the next 3 years, barring North Carolina. But yeah, and again, and that sort of ranking then just sets the tone for so much of the rest of the season. Why is LSU were they rated as highly as they were, for most of the season? Because they got a big win against number 4 Clemson, and number 4 Clemson is terrible, and Penn State's been hanging on to the rankings just for no particular reason, and it just kind of skews a whole lot of the narrative, and it does hurt, conferences in a lot of ways. We were talking, when we got disconnected, and Rob and I had no idea we were speaking to the ether there about. There was another tweet, I don't think we have it on our list, about how many wins in the conference against ranked teams are there in the Big Ten, where a Big Ten team beat another ranked Big Ten team. Do you know how many there are?
Well, UCLA, I guess, beat.
UCLA would have been one, but they're not ranked now. So, yeah.
We're a ranked team.
However you want to put it. Yeah. But
yeah, because I mean, Oregon beat Penn State, so that's one. Oh, well,
arguably. Yeah.
Oh, and then Indiana beat Illinois. I guess
that's really it. Yeah. Indiana's got the only win against a team that's currently ranked.
Okay.
In conference. I mean, yeah. Because Penn State's plummeted off the face of the earth. So thanks, Penn State. We might not get to play a ranked team all year thanks to you now. But yeah, it's just, and that just kind of sets a tone for a whole lot of the season. It's going to set a narrative for the rest of it, just because so many of these teams are ranked to start, your SEC ones. And again, it just kind of just throws into question, what's the point of these preseason rankings? If they can be this wrong with those top 4 or 5.
Yes.
I mean, what are they? This is just a popularity contest at this point. It's a glamour poll at this point. It doesn't actually reflect any realities. So
on a week by week basis, we've been going through Reddit, always post every single AP voters polls. And this week, Sam McEwen of Omaha ranked Auburn number 25. They didn't play, and they lost their last game 2 weeks ago. It's
last 2 games, I think, didn't they?
Last 2
games. Two games that came off a bye, but it was a good bye, though. It was a great
apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, what is up? And that's not just to pick on Sam. I mean, we could pick on so many. We picked on one of the voters from like SC a few weeks ago. Some of these are just ridiculous. And I guess it really does become a thing of, why do we put any weight into these? And the further that we get into this playoff system and go to 16 or 20 playoff teams or wherever they go with it, I'm all for just auto bids. These rankings just don't make any sense. And I prefaced everything by saying, why not rank Nebraska? It's not, do I feel like we're a top 25 team? I don't know. I don't know what a top 25 team looks like right now. Apparently the experts didn't know what a top 4 team looked like, because they got 3 of them wrong right off the bat. So, at the end of the day, I just think that rankings mean so little to me anymore. I'd rather just see wins, and I'd like to see 7 more wins on the season out of Nebraska, all by 1 point. And, rank us wherever you want to. I don't care. If we're 11-1, I'll be a happy guy at the end of the season.
You know what? When's the last time an unranked team played in the Big Ten championship game? Let's try to go for that.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, humor me a little.
You'd probably have to go back to like Wisconsin or something when they beat us.
That was going to be my guess because weren't they like the third choice because everyone else was disqualified? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be
Ohio
shocked if they were in.
play. Yeah.
I'll find out though. So,
yeah. Well, you go for that, and while you do that, Boomer, Rob, we're going to go to the next tweet here.
Oh boy.
And this one, well, no, actually, this one is. Well, you bring it.
I can comment. I can speak
you
for
can
Abby.
Comment on this.
Am
one.
I
This
allowed
is,
to speak for Abby?
This is
well, hold on. Abby's coming in a second.
Oh.
Okay, so Abby's getting in there, and this was her morning afterthoughts, and it was a win is a win, ugly and painful as it may have been. Defense showed up when they needed to. Special teams! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! I have questions about our play call choices and for volleyball. Revenge on PSU. PSU is everything we needed. I mean, Abby, I think that's a pretty darn good review of the weekend. Rob, I'll let you talk unless Abby is ready to get in here. But
I mean, I tweeted out, I think something similar. I don't know. Sometimes I wake up and just put thoughts out, and then I see that Abby said the same thing 20 minutes before, which is a little bit disheartening, only in that, like, it worries me that Abby and I think the same sometimes.
Probably worries her more, but Abby,
yeah, I would say that.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, I think like this is a combination. I know we're going to talk about it, but like there were a lot of tweets that I saw immediately after the game that talked about like, hey guys, like let's like focus on the now and like let's be positive and all of this, which is why I think it's really why I do like the morning after, because typically my knee-jerk reactions, and I think a lot of us have these feelings, are not like when you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning, you're like, okay, like light of day, how do we feel? It typically is a little kinder maybe than how we feel in the moment. And so that's kind of what I thought is like, I will fully admit, like, I didn't like this game. I didn't come away from this game thinking like, wow, what a great game. I came away from this game thinking like, well, a win is a win and we'll take them when we get them. And let's like focus on things that like were like good and things to work on. And I called it like, I question our play calls. But I feel like this is maybe, I hope that it's the general view of like, let's take the positives that we have. We've talked about this before, right? Like, let's take the good things that we have while still being able to talk about like some of the things that maybe didn't look great, but bigger picture is what gritty beats pretty. Like people have said, we wouldn't have won this game last year. So we can criticize, but like afterwards, let's find like the big overarching thing. And I think that is that like, a win is a win. A win is a win.
Yeah.
We spent so long, Hunky, you and I defending that 3-point Michigan loss that it was just like, no, but a win is a win, guys. We have to spend just as long defending this win.
Absolutely. I mean, this was what I was saying before we went off here the first time, was that this was maybe the most Jekyll and Hyde game I've seen under the Rhule era. That it reminded me kind of like what a Pelini type of team was, where you go hell's bells 1 month or 1 quarter, and then the next quarter we can't do anything. The next one we can. I mean, you look at this game, we went on a 14-0 streak, and then Michigan State responded with a 21-0 streak, and then we turned around and finished with a 24-0 streak. So we were up 17 points there at the very end of the game, and then Michigan State did get that final touchdown. But the point is, it was just a game of that. And look, if you're a Husker fan, poking your eyes out in most of the second and third quarter, I totally get it. We also tweeted at the end of the first quarter that you couldn't have scripted a better start for us. And then we could have retweeted that 2 quarters later saying you couldn't retweet a better response. And then as bad as it felt right towards the very end of the third quarter, right before Dylan hits that big ball to Barney, as bad as things seemed at that moment, as we're walking out of the stadium, 11-point winners, I turned to the people next to me. I didn't feel like it didn't feel that great right in the moment, but I was like, well, we won. Cincinnati won. All these other games were playing out the way I wanted them to play out. Texas losing and even Penn State losing. I don't care. And I sat there and I'm like, you know what? Why not rank us? I mean, if rankings mean anything, we know they don't, but why not rank us? Now, Boomer, can you post that again? I think that was from Big Red Junkies. I'm curious. I didn't get to see that one there. Let's say, let's see here. Okay, rewatch the game knowing the outcome, and you'll notice a lot more positives, especially along the lines. Absolutely. What was the other one they had? There was something with there you go. Oh, okay. Oh, this is on McEwen. Okay, he spent the whole game Saturday snark tweeting negativity about the game and went on Damon Monday morning to talk about T. Armstrong being better than Dylan. Oh, that's an interesting take.
It is a take. Yeah.
That is a take that you can have, I guess.
Come on. I'm starting to realize that even at 4-1, I don't think we could win the national championship and Sam would find something negative to say about this team. I'm just convinced of that now. I mean, I've met Sam multiple times. He's a nice enough dude in person, but holy cow, what a crap take. That's just, come on, man.
Well, I didn't hear the take, and that's an interesting.
I heard it live, and I actually had asked my girls to stop talking for a second when I was trying to listen to his justification for it on our ride to school in the morning. And I think the kids have a saying for it now. It's, Sam was just being head ass. I think that's the only thing to say about it right now.
Yeah. Well, let's look at another tweet of the week here. The next one up, and this is from Brian Christopherson. And Rob, I'll go with you on this. Let's move in kind of some of the offense. And this is from Holgerson. And his quote is, "If we get in a rhythm, I think that run number is going to take care of itself. I'm actually excited where we're at in the run game. I think we showed improvement. Flow of the game is why those numbers look like crap. The sacks are why those numbers look like crap." And I would certainly, I agree with him on this. The sack rate offense, as I'm calling it right now, it gets disruptive. And when you have a 3rd and 42 based off of a couple sacks and a bad snap on 3rd down, and we're not running the ball against the wind, we've had success. I think we had 17 running back carries for over 100 yards, over 6 yards a carry between those running back carries. Yeah, I mean, I think that run pass ratios, I've said this ad nauseum myself, I think run pass ratios are important, and I think we can help that offensive line out, and I think we can help Dylan out by getting in a little more run. But what are your thoughts here, Rob? You see that quote? I mean, where do you go with it?
So I watched his press conference today, and I will say that he's very self-aware about some of the things that this team could be better at, that he could be better at. I mean, at least he's really good at talking about it and saying that. So credit to him in that respect. From a positive standpoint, I mean, some of those negative plays and some of those terrible drives have contributed us being 9th in the country in yards per point. So yay us. But at the same time, I think that there is definitely some things that he probably would take back in that 2nd and 3rd quarter in regards to running the ball. As it says, after a 7-yard and a 13-yard carry, we then tried to throw the ball the next 11 plays in a row. That doesn't really make much sense to me. I hope that Holgerson goes in and sees that and realizes that, even he, as a coach for many, 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 many years, can still go back and realize that, this is the Big Ten, and you got to be able to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. And, the run creates the pass, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And even if it is short passes in the backfield that are, that go for positive runs, but, it just seems like Big Ten defenses are pretty keen on that. So, it seemed like we were running the ball great. Emmett had some great runs right up the middle there, especially I think on the first drive. I think the first play of the game, wasn't it? He ran for 15 yards or something. So
my immediate take on it kind of during the game was, in fact, I was saying, I think I tweeted it out.
Oh yeah, you did.
Was that what we did in the script is exactly what I wanted to see. I mean, that's an improvement over the bye week. They did some things that I think that's a style of the offense that we could see moving forward. And that's what you really have control over, is that script. But once you get through that script, then you get into where, it's not coordinators become coordinators. And if it's 11 straight passes or whatever it is, that's what gets called. But when you kind of are controlling that script, we were really creative. We were getting under center with some of those runs. That touchdown run, obviously, right away in the first drive, where we've struggled so much in the red zone scoring. There you get Harburg, and hands it off to Dylan. Dylan does a little reverse to Emmett, and there you have Harburg out front pulling and lead blocking out there. It was very creative. There was misdirection going on. We saw a little bit of counter in this game. So there are some things they're doing. We still didn't see any pistol. That's what I wanted to see last week, and I still think that there's potential to do some of that. But, I guess at the end of the day, I saw some things I really, really liked at the beginning. Then we kind of hit that lull of about 2 quarters, and that was with and against the wind, with the wind and against. Granted, our defense was having trouble getting off the field on that one drive, but I don't know. Abby, we've talked a little bit about the play calling, and to me, it feels like from an offensive identity standpoint, this is where I think we struggle a little bit. I wonder if Holgerson and Rhule, when they're in a private room and talking about this, I mean, I can't imagine Rhule doesn't want to see us run the ball a little more successfully, a little more just numbers wise. I think he'd want to see it.
That's what he tells us. I mean, I think that's always been my concern is like, that's what we keep getting told week after week and year after years. He wants to be a run, have a run first mentality, pound the rock. We've got the running backs. We've got a secret weapon for RB2 or whatever it was he said before this game. I think that's right. And I think the play calls that my concern with the play call, and I don't love bringing up other teams when we talk about this, but if anybody watched that UCLA game, UCLA's offensive line is not amazing. It's not a great offensive line, and you've got a pretty good defensive line from Penn State, and yet UCLA was so successful because they would throw little outlet passes, short, little quick developing plays. So where our quarterback, Nico didn't have to hold on to the ball for very long, and by doing that early, it allowed them time to essentially, I don't want to say build up the cachet or whatever it was, to then when they had to throw a long ball, they could, because the defense wasn't always caving in on them. Purdue does that really well. If you ever watch Purdue, Ryan Brown gets rid of the ball very fast. They do not have a good offensive line. They have a terrible offensive line, and their offense is very successful. And so all of those things, doing those things, like we said, throwing it to a running back in the flat, throwing little screens if we actually could block, I don't know. All that also opens up the run game and opens up those long bomb passes that we know Riola and Holgerson want us to do. So I'm with you. I think the desire to do that is there. For me, the frustration is that what feels like a disconnect between what we're told they want to do and what I think they do want to do, and what Rhule has talked before about wind and how impactful the wind is and how we have to develop an offense to combat the wind, and then actually seeing it play out. And I think that I'm with you. That's where that disconnect is. And it's whose disconnect is that? And why is this happening?
Well, and it goes to that, the touchdown pass that they threw to Hunter there on the quick screen, but that play doesn't happen without some amazing offensive line blocking. Evans plows over his guy. I mean, he absolutely does a pancake, but then Pritchett, who has been much maligned all season, he's downfield 15 yards. And if he's not down there making those blocks, that play doesn't go for a touchdown either. And so I think that one play is a great example of it. I'm not just trying to be run the damn ball guy. To your point, they're getting rid of the ball quick on some of these screens like that too. And it's not that we didn't run any screens earlier. I don't want to come off like that, but that screen set that terrible, in quotation marks, that terrible offensive line we have. Well, they made that play happen. That was running to a strength that they had. And, this is where, and when we get under center and run the ball where the running back is behind the quarterback and the defense can't align to him being left or right of the run of the quarterback. And he's not starting from a dead stop. He's actually picking up momentum as he's getting the ball. We run the ball well under center. It's one of the reasons I think in the shotgun, we've run the ball well under pistol. And there are things you can do. I'm not ready to just toss my hands up in the air and go, well, yeah, it was against the wind. Anybody can look at the game and go, yeah, a team sucked against the wind. I get that, but there are ways to combat that too. And, you don't have to be of my Husker age and listening to Osborne talking about climactic conditions for decades to realize that we're going to run into games that are going to be worse conditions than what they ran into on Saturday. And, so we've got to be more consistent than what the Jekyll and Hyde was. But the positive is that we did a lot of good things in this game too. We are establishing that run game. Dylan started to move more right away. In that first scripted pieces of the game, you immediately could see that he was going to be a little more involved with his legs. And he's not going to be, Nico. We talked about this, Abby. He's not Nico when it comes to what he can do with his legs, but he can do enough. He could do enough to move the pocket. When he threw that ball to Barney on the big play in the third quarter, that's him stepping up and running into the pocket and then throwing it on the run. That's it. You start to do that and you put stress on the defense in different ways. But the sack rate offense, I'm getting, going going about 4 deep or 4 wide and leaving some of the tight ends or tackles on an island. And I'm done with that and wait. And Rob, I think you said this before we went off the air. The sacks that we had, some were on the O-line.
3
were on the O-line. Running back missed one. And then one of them, Dylan, got up. And I mean, I appreciate that they're taking responsibility for it. He was patting his chest. I appreciate all that, but we can't be living in that world. The sacks are killing the offense, the momentum, when there's so many other good things happening. So it is okay to be positive. It is okay to be positive. It's also okay to be negative about those sacks. Those sacks are getting old real fast.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, let's talk a little bit about the offensive line then. And I guess this one goes to me to start with. But this was from Mitch Sherman. Let me add that here. Mitch Sherman, and he goes, Nebraska offensive guard Henry Lutovsky has been hearing from people in his DMs who are dissatisfied with the play of the Huskers offensive line. Lutovsky listens to his coaches and teammates, he says. As for the other noise, we say it all the time. We don't take advice from a person who wouldn't trade places. You wouldn't trade places with. I am glad that they're not listening right now then, or if they are, they don't care because they wouldn't trade places with the podcast here. And all I can say to Henry Lutovsky is that is the absolute right mindset I would take too. You know, we are fans, and I think that the part of being fans and being a fanatic is that, you know, we get nuts. I mean, when that game was nearing the end of the third quarter and we're at the end of that 0-21 run that Michigan State had against us. Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear a lot of people real happy in that crowd. In fact, I heard the crowd real quiet. But what's amazing is when Dylan stepped up and threw that ball to Barney. It's amazing. In an instant, that crowd snapped and the energy was back in that place. And it's something that Mac and I have talked about for so long. It is not on us as fans it's not our job to bring energy to a stadium. We can at the beginning. We can, you know, when you're going through pregame and the tunnel walk, but once the game starts, it's on the team to bring energy. And that was a great moment. That was a great example of it. That place was deader than a doornail, with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter. And then the second that they threw that ball to Barney, the place erupted. And 2 plays later, I think it was, we're getting under center and running for a touchdown with Emmett. So I'm glad that I appreciate what Lutovsky's saying there. I would agree with him 100%. I would not listen to voices like me right now doing a podcast. That's not going to do anything to make them better. But at the end of the day, you know, the fans are there to support you. They need something on the field to support. And the positive part was there was a lot of good things there. So I don't know, that's my take on that. Speaking of good things, Boomer, this gets into special teams. And let's talk about this is from Nick Sennert. He said, now that it actually happened, I can share this story. I was on a flight last week and Mike Eckler happened to be sitting next to me. During the conversation, he said, Nick, I can guarantee that we will block a punt next week against Michigan State. Just unreal. And the other thing that I was going to show here is this is from Hail Varsity. Matt Rhule shares how Mike Eckler has impacted Nebraska's special teams performance. And he went on for about a minute there during the press conference just talking about Eckler. I want you to talk about Eckler for a second. Talk about our special teams coordinator. You're our special teams coordinator on the Redcast, but, you know, how special has special teams been so far, and especially last weekend?
Yeah, I mean, if you just think of, since we've been doing this podcast and even before then, special teams have just always been a glaring weakness of this program for I don't know how long it's been, whether it's, you know, kicking extra points or field goals or fielding punts for any positive yardage or, you know, kickoffs or anything like that. And that's, you know, snapping the ball, you know, anything like that has been an issue for this program under multiple coaching staffs and multiple special teams coordinators who were allegedly doing their job or maybe been golfing a lot. I have no idea. Whatever they were doing, you know, it hasn't been working for a very, very long time for this program. And you finally get a new gentleman here, Eckler, who's, you know, been here before, and he's brought a new energy to this entire, you know, third of a game. And you can definitely see it. You know, you just look at the way Barney returns punts. I mean, it's way more aggressive than anything we've seen. And when's the last time we've had a punt returner that has made efforts like this? I mean, it's been, I don't even know. I mean, when's the last time we've had anyone who's even threatened to return a kickoff or
You
a
have to
punt
go
for a touchdown?
Pearsonell or maybe
Yeah, that'd be. I
Billman.
mean, yeah, that's ancient history for a lot of people.
Sure.
that might be listening to this podcast. And then you just look at just the punt returns we've allowed. I mean, what was the stat we saw earlier, Rob? Is what are we like -1 punt return yards?
Yes, we are like third in the country with -1 punt yards allowed.
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about repeatedly, being in the Big Ten, how important that is, flipping the field on both sides of the ball. You're able to generate a return, and you're not letting your opponent get anything back. Even in a game like this, where Wilson's punts weren't the greatest because that wind was a huge factor in it, they're still not getting any returns based off of it. And then you also saw just how improved our hands teams were. You saw Michigan State fumble a kickoff. We'd scored, we kicked the ball off to them, they fumble it. That's a huge thing. We recover that. Michigan State tries an onside kick, and our hands team is able to cover that. I mean, a few years ago, we probably don't get either of those the way our teams are playing. I mean, it's just a huge difference. And then you just see, just kind of like the punt block, you just kind of see how our we're set to look for weaknesses and look for opportunities to block punts. I mean, if you watch that punt block, we line up about 5 guys on that side of the field. And they have, 4 blockers there, and their shields completely screw up. One guy goes to the outside, and the guy in the middle completely whiffs and lets, Khan just completely come through untouched. I mean, nobody even slowed him down. I mean, he was back there basically when the snap got to the punter. I mean, that punt was dead from the start.
But doesn't it feel good to have one of those, especially against Michigan State? Like, it just felt so redemptive to have a special teams touchdown against Michigan State.
I just settled for it against anybody, and just think of how huge that special teams touchdown was. I mean, if we were down 21-7 at some point in that game, you might have a completely different feel to it. I mean, at that point, because we struggled for quite a while. So
yeah,
that's a huge part of the game. Yeah,
this type of game is one that we lose in previous years, and specifically, the biggest difference in all of it is the special teams play being not just a net neutral that we always talked about during the offseason. I mean, this was a victory for us. Even the missed fake punt, I like the design of it. I like the fact that we have a guy like Harburg back there. Remember some of those years where we'd have like 3 offensive linemen in the back, and it's like, well, there you just threw away any opportunity you're ever going to fake a punt ever by just the personnel they would put back there. Some of those Riley years we had these bizarre wedges of 3 guys that were never going to be able to run the ball or do anything with it. Here you have a guy like Harburg back there, makes total sense, a tight end blocking, but someone that can run the ball and someone that can pass the ball. It opens up a lot of avenues for future fakes if they choose to do that as well.
Yeah, it was just well defended by Sparty.
It was a great play. The guy who made the tackle, that was hats off to him.
I know we're gonna move on from this here real quick, and so I have to ask, and Honky, you may or may not get this reference, but after the block punt, did the crowd at least everybody go Con?
No, but who knows? Maybe they will now in the future.
I mean, Boomer gets the reference. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I get the reference.
Star Trek or something. I don't know.
Hey, even Honky got the reference.
Honky got the reference. All right. I was sure he wouldn't. I don't know why.
Next one here. I'm going to go to Abby with this one, Rob. I was going to go to you, but I'm going to go to Abby, and then Rob, you'll do the next one.
Thank God I didn't want to talk about it anyway.
Oh, good. So Abby, this one's from Husk Maddie, and I think this one has to kind of the theme of this segment here is football improving. And she said, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. People are overlooking what's happening in Lincoln. Instead of a 1-score loss, this team is learning how to make a close game a W. Is it pretty? Nope. Is it glamorous? Nope. But getting over the hump of that mentality of 1-score losses is huge. We've said this in the past. Bobby Bowden's famous quote of, first you lose big, then you lose small, then you win small, then you win big. I love that we could be so mad 2 weeks ago about a 3-point loss to Michigan after we've been blown out by them in the past. And I love that we can be so mad about an 11-point victory over Michigan State now. Again, back to what Rhule said at the very beginning of this, it's okay to be positive, and we're critiquing things here right now, but we're winning and we're getting better. And I think Husk Maddie's got a pointer.
Yeah, I think it's so funny. I go back and forth on this because like my dad and I talk a lot about football and stuff. And he every year says things like, he looks at our schedule and he's like, well, we should beat Michigan State. we should beat Minnesota. We should beat these people. We should. And we do that as fans, right? It's like, well, we should do this. We look at our schedule every year and it's like, oh, well, there's easy 9 wins out there. We should beat them all. Kind of forgetting that, like, should we? I'm sorry, given our recent history, should we be beating them? Or so I think there's this funny thing that happens with fans where it's like, yes, we should beat Michigan State. Right? Like we all thought that going in. We're looking at their defense versus our defense or our offense. And we look at these things and we're like, yep, on paper, we should beat them. And I think, again, given our history of like all these teams that we should beat, that we haven't beat, that even when we beat them, it's like, well, but we should beat them bigger, right? Right. Yeah. Right. It's almost like a trauma response of like, what we're supposed to do something more, forgetting that like we have to get back to the place where we we win the games we're supposed to win. Yep. And that's, I think, a really hard mentality. I fully admit, like I joked about at the bar, at our sports bar the whole time of just like, we went up 14-0 and I was just like, this is going to be like that Penn State volleyball game. We gave up 2 touchdowns and I went, we're never winning again. Right. Like that like trauma of like, we've seen this, what is happening? We're just like this instant feeling of like, oh God, we've done this before. I think it's, and I've told Dustin this, like you guys know me, I spent how many years, how many weeks, how many games going like, no guys, but it's different now. Like it's changed. Like this is our winning small. We're going to start winning big. We're going to get to that other side. That like part of me got a little burned out, was just like, I don't know, maybe we won't ever get there. Like, I don't know. Like you get that feeling. So as much time as it took to get to that place of like, I don't know, we'll never win again. It's going to take a long time, I think, for fans. Hopefully fans are below the team. Like hopefully the team's already accepted that, for fans to really kind of embrace and believe that this isn't fool's gold, right? That's like, okay, we have turned a corner. This is going to be consistent. So there's 2 things happening there of like, okay, we are beating the teams we're supposed to beat, guys. Like that's step 1. But I think all of us still kind of have that mentality of like, but we should beat them by more, right? Like we should do more. And so I think that's kind of what Maddie's getting at here. And I think that that's probably a consensus for a lot of fans. It's like, yeah, we knew we should win. We should have won bigger, right? Like, let's ignore the parts where we thought maybe we weren't going to win this game.
Yeah. You know, I think a game like this last one's an important one because it played out similar to how some games in the past when we've been Jekyll and Hyde, as I like to say. I mean, I can go back to Pelini, but we saw it during Riley. We saw it at times during the Frost era where you're really good at times and you're really bad at times. And it was enough bad that you lose the game. This opened my eyes up to the fact that things got bad. Things got bad in this game when it was that 3rd down and we complete that long pass to Barney. If that play doesn't happen, if we end up punting into the wind, I mean, things were getting bad in the stadium. It was quiet. There was boos, all those things. And then this team came back around. And as Rhule said, there's a fire in the eye of Dylan. This team came firing back. And next thing you know, it's like, holy smokes, we're up 17 points. That showed me something. That is one of those steps of this team is doing something that previous teams haven't been able to do. And I think it goes back to what Boomer, the whole segment with special teams, that played a role in it. Everyone was playing a role in it. Our defense was getting more pressure than we were getting at the beginning. But I think you're right, Abby, is that I don't know what fans want right now, because fans will say, we'll go 6-6. And then if we, win a game, it's not good enough. If we lose a game, it's like, well, isn't that what you expected anyways? We're 4-1 with a 3-point loss right now to Michigan. Rob, we walked out of Arrowhead and it was almost like a morgue. And I remember us saying at the time, it's like, but fans were kind of like, oh, geez, I know it was a tough game to the end, but we won, right? We beat a Power 4 team.
That's
and you
exactly
got this
what
sense
we said, like we won a game by 3 points and the crowd, it made it seem like we lost the game.
You got this sense of like, people are like, well, it's Cincinnati. And we're like, we don't know.
We don't know what Cincinnati was going to be.
Yeah,
right?
We're talking about preseason rankings. Or who knows how good Cincinnati is? Don't tell me what their record last year was. What if Cincinnati was good? That is literally what we said walking out of Arrowhead. What if they're a good team this year? We don't know. Well, we still don't technically know. We're only 5 games in, but they've won every one since. And now people want to rank them, and we beat that team. So, again, it's okay to be positive, too, while also seeing some of the warts that we have. I'd say rank us. I don't know where, maybe 25. I mean, but we deserve to probably be ranked right now with our record and who we've beaten compared to other teams that are ranked that haven't beaten good teams and have bigger losses. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't care. I also don't care because I don't care about rankings. Just win right now. Just win games by 1 point if that's what it takes. But I see progress all over the place too.
I mean, I honestly don't care about rankings. You know what? Let's get to like 6-1, 7-1, and just finish the game. The last 4 games of the season, which are going to be probably our 4 toughest games according to paper. We'll call it paper at this point, because every game should be tough, right? We just go 1-0 every week and get to that point, and the rankings will work themselves out. I mean, you can't just like sit there and say, oh, 10-2 Nebraska doesn't deserve to be ranked. Like, bullshit. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's the frustrating thing I think that we would have with like the SEC in the system that they're set up where they, just perpetually are always playing ranked teams. So someone's always ranked. That's a frustrating part where you have to feel like if it were in our case, we have to do more to get ranked. But I think you also segued us, Rob, perfectly into one I am going to ask you here. This tweet, This is from Vincent Shaver Sr.
Yep.
And he's responding here, ruler of Husker Nation. He tweeted out that Nebraska's 4-1. The schedule is literally wide open. Basically, the conversation we just kind of had.
Yeah.
USC is winnable. They don't have a defense. Penn State is winnable. They're winnable frauds. The rest of the games, Nebraska should be favored, yada, yada. All the things that anybody will say. And then I think Vincent Shavers makes a great point. He goes, every time we win, we jump ahead of ourselves. Let's focus on our next game, 1 game at a time, 1 week at a time.
Yep. And I responded to him, quote tweeted him and said, yep, just go 1-0 every week. And that's all we need to do. I mean, the most important game on our schedule right now is the one coming up against Maryland on Saturday. I'll be watching it with you and Dave down in Denver. And it's that's going to be the most important game of the season. Get through that, and then who do we play the week? I don't even
important. Minnesota.
And then we play Minnesota. God, I would love to get one over on. I shouldn't call him Baldy Fleck because I'm shaving my head now too. But come on. I will, if we beat Minnesota, I will wear high water pants for a month. Okay, just to show everybody how stupid they look, and then
really, Rob, if we don't beat Minnesota, you should wear high water pants.
They're not incentive to win, Rob. Yeah.
Come on, I look good in them. Let's be honest. And then let's see. After that, what is it? Northwestern. Okay, that's a game that I don't even want to say I have no doubt we'll win because I know our history with Northwestern. Right? There's that trauma.
But isn't that? What we're doing right now, and we're fans. We're allowed to do this. But even this gets into the looking ahead 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and teams change. 1 week ago, we were never going to beat Penn State. Impossible. And UCLA was going to be a 40-0 victory. 1 week later, hey, Penn State's beatable. And wow, watch out for UCLA now. It's amazing how quickly as fans, this is the beauty of college football, letting things play out week by week because things change. Some of the same warts, and I've said warts, some of the same issues we're having right now. If we're a developmental team and these are developmental coaches and we have good coordinators and all the things that we've said all offseason, what if some of the issues that we're seeing right now, we don't see in a month? What if we're not getting sacked? The sack rate offense has gone away in a month because we've made some of these changes. Abby, we're throwing some more of those quick passes. We're getting under center more. We're running. We have a better run pass ratio. All of a sudden that starts to get better. We've already seen a D line and a front seven looking a lot better than they were even against Cincinnati. So, this isn't like just things change, the teams evolve. And so when we look on paper, it's set in stone, but I can't wait to see what we're going to look like as a team when we play Northwestern, when we play USC. I see
we
growth.
Do a funny thing.
That's the fun. Yeah, go for it.
We do a funny thing as fans, and I think all fan bases do this. So I don't want to just point Husker fans out, but since we are Husker fans, I notice it more of we expect that our team is going to get better every single week and be able to beat all these teams, but we don't think any other team is doing that. And it's this thing of hey guys, all of those players are P4 players as well. We are not the only team with players, you know what I mean? And so it's it always just makes me laugh just watching it now because I used to do it too. And I sometimes catch myself doing it. And so this isn't me I am better. It's just once you notice it, you're oh wait, no, that's right. We sit here as fans and are just we get better every week. Want to know we're just everything that we messed up on, we're going to improve on. But all those other teams, they're not doing anything in their off week. And it's this is why then when we lose, we don't play as well. It kind of is okay, but whose expectations were you trying to hit? Who set that expectation for you? And I do that to myself. I'm doing that with myself with Michigan State of like, but who told Abby that we were gonna run over Michigan State? Abby did. Abby told Abby that. That's the team didn't do it.
Yeah.
Michigan State, Abby did it. So like I have to then be like, okay, who did I disappoint? I disappointed myself.
You sound like my therapist, Abby.
Well, it's like
crazy, isn't it?
the first couple weeks of the season. To your point there, you'd see it all over Twitter. And I know people wanted to have fun with them because it's Iowa, but like Gronowski was struggling as a quarterback. But you don't think he's going to get better there? And we don't play. I guess one response I would have is, well, that's great that he's stinking it up against Iowa State and whoever they're playing in week, Albany and stuff like that. But you know what? We don't play Mark Gronowski in September. We don't play him in October. We're going to play him on Black Friday. And so do you not expect him to get better? Do you not expect their offense to evolve around? And so the main thing, does that scare me? No, it doesn't, because I expect us defensively to continue to improve to go along with it as well. But what I don't expect is that we're going to get week 2 Mark Gronowski when we play him. We're going to get week 12, and that's going to be a better player with a better system around too. And so the key is that we need to not be losing ground on teams throughout the season. And that's what we've seen in far too many other seasons of Husker football in the past, that we didn't evolve and improve the way that we should along the way. I mean, Boomer, let's even kind of get back to you with this. Let's talk special teams for a second. We've been ecstatic about what they've done through 5 weeks, but I still expect this to get better. We should be a better special teams unit in week 7 and week 8 and week 9. I mean, what does that look like on top of how we're going to, Dana's going to get this offense figured out. We're going to keep improving our rush defense. What is special teams? What are things that we could be doing in week 10, 11, 12 when we're playing Iowa and we're beating Iowa because of special teams playing at its best?
Yeah, just one of those little, just don't put your hands on a guy's back when your guy's breaking a punt return. I mean, simple as that. I mean, no offense to Carter, but yeah, I mean, you kind of force the refs to call that when you put both your hands on a guy's, back of your jersey, they're going to throw the flag. You just give them that reason. You just don't do that. And, Barney still breaks that. There's a touchdown. I mean, it's those little things. And, that's really the thing with special teams. It's just repetition and constant, practice on that. And if you can keep getting better at it, yeah, I mean, that's going to win you games. I mean, and it's this last game, it's just going to keep winning you games. It should anyway. So
yeah,
at this point, you don't usually take huge steps back in special teams, barring injury, as far as seasons go. You don't usually see huge regressions, from the mean.
Yeah. Well, Rob, we're going to end some of the football talk here by getting into the stats. And I'll start with this Michael Severe. Here's a stat comparison for Nebraska, Maryland. Highlighted rankings are top 40. I make Nebraska a 6.5 point favorite on a neutral field. Not sure how much home field is at College Park. The NU offense is 18th. Offensive points per play is 0.522. Maryland is 64th at 0.39. NU's defense is 31st. Defensive points per play is 0.305. Maryland is 3rd, 0.150. And so we can get deep into the stats. We can get into the Husker Max stats powered by Husker Max. But, I mean, just in general, let's talk quickly kind of, Nebraska, Maryland stats and matchup. I mean, what do you see looking forward to Saturday?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that look like they're pretty close together. I do see that we actually have more yards, I think yards per game than Maryland by quite a bit. We average more points per game than Maryland. I would say I can't find time of possession on here or anything like that, but I mean,
time of possession here. Let me get to this.
You probably have it, but
so we're at 31.58 a game, which is 28th in the country. Maryland's at 28.48, which is 87th.
Okay, there you go. So, I mean, there's so many things here. And, he's saying he puts him at a 6.5 point favorite on a neutral field. Well, Vegas is putting him at a 6.5 point favorite as a, visitor coming into Maryland. So
first true home road game.
And Vegas, let's be honest, Vegas seems to know. They usually get it pretty close or pretty right, for the most part. So, You can look at these and there's just so many numbers, and you can look at the stats and everything like that. And, what are some of the things that I think Nebraska is going to be able to do against a Maryland team that really is not that great of a rushing team, depends heavily on the pass. Well, what is our biggest, our strongest point on our defense right now? And that would be our ability to defend the pass, right? We only allow like 91 yards per game or something like that. As far as rushing goes, our rushing defense is getting better. And, if we can hold Maryland to, I'm going to say if we can hold Maryland under 250 yards of total offense, this game's not even going to be close. It'll be a blowout. I think that, I looked, the weather out there is supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be pretty good. They are traveling. They're leaving tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, huh? So they're leaving on Thursday, day early. I don't care what anybody says. Traveling to the East Coast is always harder. I know my sister lives in New Jersey, and it always seems to take me an extra day or so to recover from the travel. And I'm really not that far outside of, Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm only a 6-hour drive. So,
but you're 2 hours removed.
2 hours removed from the
standpoint.
East Coast time zone wise, but
Yeah.
I'm only 6 hours removed from Lincoln. So,
Sure.
Travel wise, but so I think it's smart that they're doing that. I mean, we could sit here and look at this, turnover margin, everything like that. A lot of those things are pretty even. As they should be. We're 5 games into the season. We have the same record as Maryland. And when it comes down to it, this is going to be one of those games where I think this is probably a bigger show me game than last week against Michigan State. This is going to be our first, like you said, our first true road game. And we're going to have to head in there and just kind of, our defense is going to have to play the way that they've been playing. Our special teams is just going to have to remain being special and being one of the best in the country. And our offense, hopefully, let's be honest, that's probably the worst 2 quarters that I've seen Rhule play. And based off of his reaction in the fourth quarter and probably going into this game this week, I don't know that I would want to be Maryland's defense at this point, because I feel like we might see something special this week.
Yeah. Granted, we had a punt block there, which, by the way, this goes back to the stats of when you block a punt that
70% chance. It's 70% chance of winning
the game.
Yeah.
So, but short of that, for 38 points that we scored, 7 of them off of that, for this horrible, terrible offensive game that it felt like, and I'm going a little overboard with that, but that horrible game that we had, we scored 31 points offensively.
Yeah.
That still is saying something. That feels like we're winning games in different ways.
You can't look at total yards because some of those were, we had short fields. You know what I mean? And when you have short fields, you can't gain a whole lot of yards. There's only so many yards from the 35-yard line or the 20-yard line.
That's the yards per point that Dave talks about a lot.
Right.
And, we had 14 points in the second quarter, and we had like 70 yards. Because when you
we're ninth in the country in yards per point right now, and we're improved by 4.6 yards per point from last year. And if we had the same yards per point this year as we had last year, we would be 85th in the country right now. So, that's perspective right there. The 4.6 points difference a game in that stat, which Dave is huge on, and I'm sure we'll talk about it on Friday on the golf course. But, it's, I hate to say this, but, he's right. It's an obvious stat that you can look at to see success. And right now, that specific stat being improved is where we can point out obvious success on this offense.
I think time of possession here, that's always a tough one, because when you block punts and you're giving the ball right back to them, that was going to affect us. We had a couple times to get off the field and we didn't, so that extended some drives there. But we have some other stats here where
I really hope Dave doesn't watch this show. God.
Well, I think that there's some stats here that we really have made major jumps from a year ago. And the fewest penalties were 15th in the country, 4.4, 21st in the country with penalty yards, fewest penalty yards, 39.2. That right there, that is a discipline thing. And then on top of that, the turnover margin, this is just huge. We are 8th in the country. And Rhule said that this week, that he'd rather just be +1 every week versus +6 or, pick some number at the end of the season. But, you can. I think there was a game this year where Maryland beat FIU, I think it was or one of those teams, FAU, and had like 5 or 6 interceptions in one game. Well, that's going to look great for your turnover margin.
Yeah.
But Rhule's talking about consistency. I want to be +1 every game. If I'm +1 every game, I'm going to be in good shape every game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like the same with sacks, right? Like somebody said, "Oh, Maryland is ranked at, at certain point with X amount of sacks on the season." Well, yeah, they had like 2 games this season against like lower ranked teams where they had like 5 sacks in one game and 6 sacks in the other. So that's just gonna, inflate your numbers.
One other stat that has changed a little bit, because a couple weeks ago, I think we were stuck somewhere with schedule strength around right around 99th or 100th. Now we're 69th.
Nice.
And so we are. So now that's trending to the better. So we're 4-1 right now with a 69th ranked strength of schedule. Boomer, Abby, I want to go to both of you. I'll start with you, Boomer, here. Are there any stats specific to this week's game that you're really keeping an eye on, you're looking forward to? Is there something that we're doing, something that Maryland's doing that scares you? What do you think?
Not especially. I mean, I watched Maryland play Washington this week. I had the multi-screen views going, a couple of TVs going, so I had their game against Washington. They leapt out to a lead on it. A lot of that was Washington sputtering in the first half. They had a interception after a long drive and a couple of turnovers on downs where they got into Maryland territory and kind of just couldn't convert. They were kind of in that mid-range between field goal and puntings, and they just went for it and never converted. And then Maryland had a 20-point lead and just completely squandered it, did absolutely nothing in the second half. Washington's he's not the running threat that I think we've seen from quarterbacks in the past, or even in this, even compared to Childs, I don't think, and certainly, not Sorsby. So, they're not a team that really scares me at this point, just kind of looking at them, and what I've watched of them. I've watched a couple of Maryland games, just, again, I think if we can score more than 20-some points, I think it's a pretty easy win for Nebraska this week, just based on what I've seen. Because, like you said, Honky, a lot of these stats, Maryland's played not great opponents. You were right that I think the first game they played Florida Atlantic, they had 6 interceptions in that game. I mean, yeah, that's going to skew a lot of stuff. I mean, in terms of your total turnover margin, I've looked at the rest of them, and they've beaten. Their wins are against Florida Atlantic, Northern Illinois, Townsend, and Wisconsin. And Wisconsin might not be any better than Townsend this year. So, this isn't any high quality Terrapins team we're going into face. And I know it's our first road game. I mean, mid-October, and you're playing your first road game. That's a big advantage. And what advantages their home crowd have? I'm not sure they have a home crowd. So
yeah,
as long as you don't overload on crab cakes, I think we'll be fine.
Well, I look over here, Maryland, they're 4th in the country in sacks. Now, granted, again, you've mentioned the competition, but 3.8 a game, that's one thing to look at. Abby, is there a certain stat line that you're looking at with this game, or an area that you think Maryland's strong, or an area where we can exploit something that they're doing?
I mean, I'm looking at again, I haven't watched a lot of them, so I don't know, but I'm looking like one of my least favorite things about our offense, and I make it well known, is our red zone offense. And if you look at our red zone offense, which is where we 92nd, and look at their red zone defense. Cool.
3rd in the country. Yeah. So
that's the part that concerns me. Again, is this the competition they played? I understand that, but look at the competition we've played. Even early on, our red zone offense was not great. So that's going to be a thing that, like, I feel like I'm going to watch all season long, to watch us try to get better at and just make better decisions in our play calling on. They are they are a kind of stingy defense in terms of, like, they do get a lot of turnovers. They're very opportunistic. Stingy wasn't the right word. Opportunistic is the word I'm thinking of. And their quarterback is a thrower, right? So I think it is going to be a really fun thing to watch our defense really get tested, because we haven't really been tested against an air offense yet. And so hopefully it goes well and does not go how our run off the defense got tested last year against Indiana.
Yeah.
That's all I'm hoping for.
That's a good point. I mean, Michigan State had their backup quarterback come in. He was their thrower of the two, and he had some success. Now, I would caution people to make too much out of that, because he couldn't do things with his legs that the starter was able to do, and he had some success against us with that as well. I mean, always say that the mobility of a QB like that's hard too. But yeah, this is going to be a throwing quarterback, and so it gives us a good challenge to go against that. I think you bring up a great point there with the red zone defense, theirs versus our offense, and this gets back to like we can't be static as a team. We can't do the things we did in the red zone in weeks 1, 2, and 3 this late into the season. And I did see real progress there coming off the bye week. We saw that in that the first drive alone with that little misdirection reverse there that they did to Emmett, and just a way to get Harburg involved with it, whatever it is. Last week I was calling for TJ Lateef to be able to be in there, having a little bit of mobility out of the quarterback. That's how we scored our first touchdown, is with a mobile QB getting the snap in Harburg, and Dylan was still involved in it. And so the point is getting creative, and if we can continue to evolve that, I think that we can see the red zone offense improve along the way as well.
Hey, can I just chime in here real quick too? And I'll kind of be the one to go here, because we did talk about this a little bit before Abby jumped on with the game, because I was going through some stats. I mean, the red zone defense too, a lot of it can be is deceiving the word. Yeah, I'll use the word deceiving because it's all based off of percentages, right? And let's just be clear, like Nebraska's red zone offense may be 92nd in the country, but we've also been in the red zone 27 times and scored there 22 times. For comparison, Maryland's been in the red zone 21 times and scored 18, yet somehow they're ranked almost 30 something above us, right, in offense. From the defensive side, we've only allowed opponents into the red zone 8 times. They've scored on 7 of those times, but 8 times in 5 games is all we've allowed our opponents into the red zone. In contrast to that, Maryland's allowed them 13 times into the red zone and allowed them to score, I think it was like 7 or 8. So I mean, there's
when we say score, do we mean touchdowns or field goals, or does that just mean
scoring,
any points?
Scoring in general.
That would be the difference in my mind.
Yeah. And so I mean, you'd
have to look at that breakdown further.
Yeah, well, I have it for you right here. Nebraska scored 9 rushing TDs, 7 passing TDs, and 6 field goals. Maryland has 5 rushing, 4 passing, and 9 field goals made. So there you go. Of their 18 red zone scores, half of them are field goals. Of ours, 1/3 of them are field goals. On the defensive, defensive side, I'm just looking here. On the defensive side, is that what you were going to ask, Abby?
Yep.
On the defensive side, Maryland has allowed 1 rushing TD, 3 passing TDs, and 4 field goals. In contrast, where was Nebraska on that? Again, we've only allowed our opponents into the red zone. They have 5 rushing TDs. There you go. 1 passing touchdown and 1 field goal. Now, also, let's remember, some of those were mostly against Michigan, and then also
no, they weren't against.
Oh, they weren't in Michigan.
That's the thing.
They weren't against Michigan.
If you run an 80-yard touchdown run, you're not going to be in the red zone.
Well, also, and rushing is not Maryland's strength. So sure. I mean, you know what I mean. So it's like, if you want to look at those matchups in that regard, one, the numbers aren't that far apart, but 2, they've allowed a lot more red zone opportunities than we have, and of the red zone opportunities that they've had, they've half of theirs are field goals. So I mean, and they can't pass in the red zone. They've only scored 1 touchdown. So I mean, I think that those actually play into our favor if you really want to break it down from that perspective.
That's the beauty of stats. There's always you can look at stats 100 different ways. If you're great run zone, you'll have a great run zone defense if you give up a bunch of big plays and they never get into it too. So at the end of the day, stats can reinforce, or they can lie. They can do whatever you want them to do. Abby, did you have something with that that you wanted to say there? Or?
Nope. Just that is if you asked for something that I will be watching for, and that's something that I will be watching for.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, as we get out of football here, I do want to mention a couple of these from Tony Hayek. First, he said, I think we beat more P4 teams than PSU and Texas combined. I love that. And then I think this was in reference to earlier, I was talking about how Husker fans were talking about Iowa's quarterback early in the season. And he said, though Iowa fans have also given Rhule crap for having a good game against only Cincinnati in quotation marks, even though that team beat Iowa State, which Kronowski had a bad game against. So yes, with every week that goes by, we get to continue to see how things change, and the season continues to tell us more. And I guess that applies to more than just football. And I think it's a good time to get into courtside cooking. And boy, when you talk about how the season continues to evolve and change, and we learn more about a team, Abby, I don't know how. I'm not even sure what to take away from that Penn State win. It was so ridiculously dominant. I mean, I know we're good. Are we that good?
Yeah.
Is Penn State that bad? Was that just a great night for us and a bad night for them? I mean, how do you 25-6, and they even started that set 2-0 on us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both, if I'm being honest. I think it is. I mean, that was, if you think about it, like that's the team we saw play Stanford early and sweep Stanford, the Nebraska team. Like, and I was just watching the thing that they put out with Jalen, was it like the experience or whatever it's called? I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's really good. But they had a little clip from that Stanford game where Danny was saying, like, this is the team. Like, this is what I knew you guys could do. This is what you are capable of. And it took some time. We didn't always see that, but then we saw it against Penn State. So I think like that Penn State game, that Stanford game, that shows you our ceiling. That is what we are capable of doing to good teams. And I know Penn State lost Izzy Stark, and I don't think she would have helped them that much in that game. They definitely look like they have not played volleyball together ever. They looked so out of sync the entire time. And so it almost was like upsetting. Like there's a party that was just like, loved it. I was so nervous going in. We dominated it. It was the literal belt to butt that you could ever ask for. It was the revenge game we all wanted and needed. But there was a part of me that was just like, man, it would have been really nice if Penn State at least looked like they knew how to play volleyball. Because then I think that gives you a more it's conflicting, right? Like you feel very confident in this team, but then it's like, but do they look that good because Penn State doesn't look good, or do they look that good because they're that good? So it's weird, right? It's kind of Wisconsin will be a really good test. Purdue on Sunday will be a really good test, I think, to see if like, is this real? And it is real. Like, let's be totally honest that they are a very good team. They're a very dominant team. They just cleaned everything up in that match that we had concerning. So yeah, it was like a bittersweet moment of like, this game was great. It would have been nice to be more competitive, even though I really liked that I never really worried we weren't going to win.
Especially with it being Penn State. Like you said a very interesting word there. You said ceiling, talking about like we talked earlier on the football side, like how does the team evolve? How does it keep getting better? How does that team look different in week 8 than week 4? Well, in volleyball, did we just see the ceiling of this team? Were they that good? Were they that flawless? Or did we see a floor of Penn State that, you know, like where can this Nebraska team be in a month, you know, and how much better can this team get? Or you know, seriously, did we just see the ceiling? Like 25-6 at Penn State's insane.
I mean, there are things that I'll nitpick to tell you where this team could get better.
Let's nitpick the hell out of this team.
Okay. It will forever annoy every part of my body that they do not run to the end line for long serves. I need them to run all the way to the end line to make sure that a serve is out, because they don't do it and it's lazy. And that's like, again, we want to talk about trauma. That's my PTSD from playing volleyball is if you didn't run to the end line, you ran. And so that bugs me. We let aces drop because we don't run all the way to the end line. There's things like that, but that is so, to me, minor that I'm like, I feel weird even bringing that up as a potential thing. But I think like play-wise, we have hit our ceiling. I think where this team can improve is to see that again, is to see that continue to play at that level.
You know, we had at a work function a couple weeks ago, we had Danny Busboom Kelly. She came and spoke to this group on campus. And anyways, she was talking about, it was the Creighton game. And so that was a 3-2 win. In fact, I think we swept every single team since Creighton. But she mentioned how in practice they have felt so comfortable. I mean, we're so talented, we're so good that they would just feel free in practice, just throwing any group out there with each other and kind of rotate willy-nilly and just let them play because they're that good. But she goes, maybe, she was kind of talking out loud and she says, maybe we do need to just kind of get some familiarity with certain groupings, do a little more of that. And, we'll see what happens with that. I don't know what their practices have looked like, but if I'm going to assume that she's hit some right buttons with that. And there was definitely from a familiarity standpoint with the team being in sync. I mean, they did everything right. They just, I don't know if it's their ceiling, but if their ceiling's much higher than that, it's going to be really, really tough for anybody playing them. Rob, how about
it's
you?
Hard
man?
to imagine. It's hard to imagine how you do better.
Look, I had plans on Friday night for some tickets that I had bought months before, and I had invited some friends who were also Nebraska fans here in town, and basically on Friday they flaked on me because they're like, we decided that we would rather go watch the volleyball match. And I said, the volleyball match starts at 6:00. Our show starts at 8:00. Like, we're gonna sweep them. And they were just like, oh, you have way too much confidence. And then like about 7:15, I texted them and said, so do you guys still want to go? Or like, and they didn't respond until later. And I was like, okay, well, that's all right. I found some other people to go with me. But I mean, that's how I felt about it. I mean, I get where Abby's coming from, that they were nervous, but like, this game had revenge game written all over it. I think we talked about it on last week's podcast. And I don't know. I mean, while Abby was able to find a flaw in not running back to the line, which honestly I just learned tonight was a thing, running back. Although also though, that is one thing that I noticed, like, why aren't they there making sure that the ball doesn't go out? Like, I have asked that question before.
That's an effort.
They're supposed to.
Yeah, it's an effort thing. It's like running out to first base, right? I mean, I guess like in baseball,
every
right?
coach
like
in every sport
coach.
we'll talk about. There's
Yes.
something effort that
like
each
in
coach
practice.
in
In practice, Jerry Rice used to run no matter where he caught the ball in the field. Used to run all the way to the end zone after every catch. Because that way in your mind, you discipline it. I same with golf, right? Every shot I hit, I watch it.
Yeah.
I see the ball flight. I see where it lands. I wait. I look at how I hit it off the ground. So yeah, I get it. But I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I think
it's super cocky to say that I was never worried. I knew we were going to sweep this team. Like,
I think Tony's got it right here. He goes, a large portion of the fans felt a sweep, but no one expected that.
No,
and I
no
think
one
that's
I think people thought a sweep or like a pit game where like you win, and especially coming off 25-6, right? So like 25-6, that energy is high. But then what I did honestly is I thought back to like, okay, we beat Pitt like 25-12 or something, right? Like I don't have it off the top of my head. And then what happened the next game is like we kind of let off a little bit. That's kind of what this team has kind of historically done, right? They've kind of let off the brakes or off the gas a little bit.
They did not.
Yeah.
So I think like, while I think everybody thought we'd win. I don't know. A lot of people thought we'd lose. I don't know. A lot of people thought we'd go to 5. I think a lot went either it was going to be a sweep, but like 25-23, 25-20 kind of sweep, or it'd be like a 3-1.
We held
win,
them under
right?
40 total points. I think there was something like I saw a stat.
I counted it up. It was 75-36. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was
It's one of their lowest at Rec Hall since rally scoring point totals, if not the lowest.
I mean, this was us playing really well. But then to your point, Rob, I think you're saying how, we've laid off on a couple teams before. This was like we played really well, and everything we talked about last week on the pod about them wanting revenge and being pissed and everything, it just came through. Like you saw it, like we were so far ahead of them, and then we'd still make some great blocker, it'd be Alec out there doing it. And they were so pumped, 15 points up. And it's just like, oh, they're not going to let this team breathe.
No.
And if they can have that, the challenge there is, can you have that kind of killer instinct? But the reality is how good they are is it's hard to come off of a win like that and then take a Rutgers serious. And they went out and just swept them.
I was expecting to see the kid from Cobra Kai, like on the sideline going, put him in a body bag. Like that's kind of where I was at with that.
And since we were talking about polls earlier, I just have a question. The volleyball rankings, I think they were last done a couple days ago. There's still 3 people voting Texas as number 1. I mean, is there any
so
justification for that? Or I know they're good. Don't get me wrong, but
it depends on your reasoning for justification. So they have currently like their RPI, is that what they call it in volleyball? Whatever it is like technically higher than ours right now because they technically played a harder non-con than we did. So they played some like one or two more ranked teams. I think that should even out because the rest of their conference schedule is not as difficult in terms of ranked teams as ours is. So I think people thought like that was it. They're also undefeated and they've played a tough schedule. So I'm not gonna I don't want to like dig on that. I think it's probably valid for people to think that they are also very good. Like I've watched a couple of the games. They are very good. If you want to talk about how Nebraska like just wouldn't let Penn State breathe in that game, Texas has done the opposite and has had backs against the wall numerous times against very good teams and were able to just like force their way through. So they're a very good team. Being the only other really undefeated team, it makes sense why they get some votes. I think they lost a vote though. Like I think they got 4 the week before, they got 3 this week. That Penn State game I think did a lot for voters, but I'm sure it's somebody at Texas who thinks that they are God's gift to volleyball and deserve it more than us. But realistically, like 1-2 doesn't matter. It isn't gonna matter, but that's what I can think of as why Texas is getting votes for it.
I mean, this is a tweet from Emily Amon, and it's the latest NCAA volleyball top 25 rankings are out. Nebraska's number 1 there with 58 votes, 58 first place votes. Texas was number 2 with the 3. And then number 3 is Kentucky. Nebraska's beat them. Pitt, Louisville. So the stat I saw was, I think in the top 10, Texas and Nebraska have beaten every single team in the top 10 with the exception of A&M, and Texas has a chance to play A&M in a few weeks. And after Nebraska plays Purdue, then between the two, we will have played everybody in the top 13. And even number 14 is Minnesota, so we'll be playing them before long. There's such a clear difference between those top 2 and everyone else. But I guess I'll always hesitate with this too, is we learned this last year with Penn State. It doesn't what matters is how you're playing once you get to November and December, and teams can get on a hot streak too. And so it's not to say that Wisconsin, has no chance at this year, or that, there's talented teams all over the place, but it's really hard right now, at least in this freeze frame picture of time. It's really hard to look at anyone other than Nebraska or Texas.
Yeah. Yes, they are currently kind of in a league of their own. We thought Kentucky was there for a while. It's really, the tier has really broken off into those two and then everybody else. But yeah, to your point, like I don't want to say it doesn't matter how you play now. It obviously does. It impacts it. But I mean, if you look at Pitt, and Pitt started 0-2, I think, didn't they? Or like 1-1 or something. And now are they up at 3 again? Like now they are looking like Pitt of old. So
they're number 4 at
Stanford
12-2.
That's what it is. Okay. Stanford has lost a couple. Kentucky's only dropped a couple. And you kind of thought, well, are they done? No. So these, like, just because Nebraska and Texas are kind of in a league of their own currently, there's so much like regular season to come. And then it's all matchups in postseason, and you just never know what, who's going to have an off night, who's going to just come alive. Like Jess Merzick for Penn State, give her credit, came alive at the end of the season and played a better game, like played better than she ever had in her career. So you can't account, like, players have that. I mean, I hate to give them credit from a couple of years ago, but Texas was terrible at near the end of the season. And then conference play tournament play started, and their players finally decided to play up to their potential, and they ripped through the tournament and won the championship and embarrassed us on that court. So you can't tell, like, how players are going to rise to an occasion or not. And knock on wood, you don't know, like, which Minnesota player is going to go down next. They've lost half their team to injury. They can't really afford another one, but injuries happen, things happen. So I think we keep accepting what we're doing and keep, like, embracing that and being really proud of that. And just jokingly, I'm like, we're winning a natty. It's natty or bust. Like, it's going to be us. We're in it. But just also, like, not letting some of those teams kind of out of your sights in terms of the ones that aren't in that top 2 yet.
Well, we came off the East Coast double sweep of Penn State and Rutgers this week. Friday night at 8 o'clock at Devaney, we host Washington. That's on the Big Ten Network. And then Sunday, October 12th at noon, the game at Purdue, at West Lafayette on Big Ten Plus. And, I'm circling a couple of dates here that are all right around the same time. Halloween night, October 31st, Nebraska at Wisconsin. That's going to be a big one. A couple days later, November 2nd, Sunday, November 2nd, Kentucky at Texas. I think that's a big weekend when you're getting up there to the Halloween time. But I guess, maybe we'll end the volleyball by just. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just one last thing that if you haven't seen it, if you don't have BTN Plus, which I think it's an absolute travesty that a top 15 ranked matchup is on BTN Plus and not on BTN, but I guess whatever. I'm not gonna. We can't be on everything, so it's fine. Wisconsin fans are already mad at how often Nebraska volleyball is on normal TV. But if you don't have BTN Plus, they are running a special right now where you can get just that game. So Purdue, Nebraska for like $6 or something. So you don't have to buy a year subscription to BTN Plus if you don't want to, and you just want to watch that game. That is an option that's on Twitter. I've retweeted it. I'll send it to you guys. You can retweet it as well. So that's an option if you want to watch the game.
And I'm just looking down the road here. We have a number of games on Big Ten Network, Michigan State at Wisconsin, Oregon. Those are Illinois is still on FS1. The game at Minnesota is on NBC, and another FS1 at or the home game against Iowa. So when you combine that with the ABCs and the Fox games that we've had in ESPN, it is. I still, and I 100% agree with what you're saying about the Purdue thing on top of it, but it is so like we talk about progress where this sport was at just a couple of years ago. What we're seeing now, really, it's great to see that. Real quick, Abby, before we get out of volleyball, just look ahead to this weekend. What are your thoughts? The home game on Friday against Washington and traveling to Purdue.
I think Washington will be. I wish they were better. They're not a great team right now. Well, I guess I haven't watched the last couple of games.
They
but
lost
from what
to
I saw,
University of Northern Colorado. They got reverse swept by University of Northern Colorado this year.
Okay.
Well,
so I mean, I think that'll be a good game. Purdue, Purdue's a weird team, right? They lost 3 or 4 of their like really big hitters and their big names, and there was, I think, some trepidation and some like we're not sure. Did they get preseason ranked because of Dave, again, name and kind of what Dave Shondell has been able to do in the past? Did they really deserve it? They played pretty good. They played great. They've two losses. I'm checking 2 losses on the season, Georgia Tech and Illinois. So a ranked loss and then an unranked loss, but a kind of weird Illinois team. They've got some players who have just talk about going off lately and just having amazing games. They reverse swept UCLA at UCLA, and then they swept USC. So they could be good. They're coming in with a lot of momentum and a lot of positivity. And Dave Shondell always puts up a pretty good team at Purdue. The last few times we've played them have been terrifying. As fans of both teams, Dustin will confirm if you ever ask him that game last year was not a happy place for either of us in our house. It was so stressful. But yeah, I'm excited. We'll be at that game. So I'll be at Mac, or it's not at Mackey. So we'll be at that game on Sunday.
Well, I think this is a good time for us to get into the parting shot segment here. I'm going to start with you, Abby. And before you even give your parting shot here, let's just talk for a second. You're in Chicago right now. It's going to be you're representing the Redcast down there at the Big Ten Media Days, the men's and women's basketball. So, I mean, it's hard to believe, but yeah, it's basketball season already coming around. What are your thoughts going into this? What's your schedule look like the next couple of days here?
My thoughts is how is it already time for basketball? It feels insane that basketball's already going. And we talked about that. And it's just because it's been like summer in St. Louis. And so it doesn't feel like fall. So it's like, how are we already talking about a winter sport? I'm just excited that it's like an 8 to 2:30 day, both days. They'll split women's up. I believe women are tomorrow. Men are Thursday. I know what day of the week it is. And it'll be, I think, set up the same way as last year. So they'll do kind of a panel that'll get aired, and then they'll do podium talks with coaches and players. So we'll get to talk to them and ask questions and things like that. I'm excited. I'm excited to, I think the story with the men's basketball team every year, the last few years, has been chemistry and how you get all these new guys to come together. But there's a lot of kind of new familiar faces. You got Rank coming back.
Jamarcus Lawrence.
Oh gosh, Jamarcus? Yeah, J-Law's coming back, who's been there and then kind of went away and came back, and so you've got some kind of interesting, different new dynamics than we've had before. And the women's team didn't lose a lot. I mean, we lost a couple to graduation. Nobody did the portal. Got a couple new girls in the portal. So getting to talk to Britt Prince will be here, and Callan about what does that look like? So again, not a ton of turnover, but how do you integrate these new players, and how do you fill Alexis Markowski's role and the impact that she had on the team? So
do you have questions prepared, Abby?
No, not yet. We're working on them. Do you have questions you want me to ask, Rob?
Redcasters watching right now. If you've got questions, you have a couple of minutes before we're done. You get to throw them in here. Maybe Abby can ask it.
Yeah. Also, put them on. I'll post something on Twitter. You can send questions there too.
Yeah. We asked Britt if she's taking fan-made headbands for this year, that she'll wear them at a game or something.
Yeah. I can ask her. I tried to play volleyball once with my hair down, and I don't understand it.
She's fun to watch. I think I'm excited. I think for the women's team, I'm more excited to see her improvement in year 2. And it's going to be a fun season for them, I think.
Yeah. Sure. Tony already has one. Is Natalie Potts going to be full go?
I think so, but I can confirm.
That's a good one. Head coach Amy Williams, she'll be there with Britt Prince and Callan Hakey. And then Hoiberg is going to be there with his son Sam and Rank Mask. So that's the next couple days there. It's basketball. So outside of that, Abby, do you have any parting shots on top of that?
I don't know. Be happy, be positive. It's okay to have some criticism, but also I think just big picture, and just try to remind yourself who is setting the expectations that you have going into games, and what are those expectations. And I think that's my parting shot.
All right. Redcast Rob.
I would just say that going into this game on Saturday, I'm excited to spend time with you, Matt. I'll be with you all day on Friday, and I'll be with you most of the day on Saturday, and who knows how long on Saturday night. We'll be watching the game together, and I think that this is going to be a little bit different than all the times that we get together. We finally went to a game together that Nebraska won to start the season, and I think this will be the second game that we are together that we're going to see another win. I know we don't normally do score predictions on the show, but Nebraska's been averaging 38 points a game, and I don't see them slowing down on that. So 42-28.
All right, Redcast Boomer.
Well, I know we've been talking about taking it game by game, and we're not supposed to
day by day.
Too much for the forest for the trees here. But I've taken the Tim Brando approach and just been enjoying my Negronis all night. And I, look at the schedule. I'm not convinced I would pick us to lose any of the games currently where we're at in the schedule. So I think if we're just if everything falls in our place, we've got a fine chance to be darn close to the Big Ten title game. If everything goes right, you've got that Oregon and Ohio State don't play each other in the regular season. That's going to be a problem. So you should count on Indiana to maybe upset Oregon and blow a game somewhere on the way. But no, I'm feeling pretty good where we're at right now.
I just watched Freakier Friday, and I feel like Boomer and I switch bodies.
Yeah, it happens sometimes, Rob.
Yeah, but it's all right.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling good. It's just we're deep. We're well into the season. You kind of are what you are at this point, and I've watched a lot of these teams, and I feel pretty good. So.
Go Big Red, boom!
Yeah, go Big Red.
Yeah, I think that it's so funny. We have so many different narratives, and then they jump over each other. I mean, I'm truly about the week by week, the game by game, and we'll look at the season as a whole. We'll talk about how tough Minnesota is because, boy, it's tough to play back-to-back road games, and that one's on Friday night. But it's it's take it week by week. It's other teams
Minnesota's not good.
Yeah, other teams have to play get 6 games and just take the game one at a time. Let's not worry about Minnesota right now. Let's beat Maryland. And when we get to Minnesota, we'll get to Minnesota. And if we beat them, then we're going to have 8 days off to go and play Northwestern. So at the end of the day, this is, we made fun of Frank Lind earlier for, a little bit of the excuses or the comments about the travel and stuff like that. Look, everyone travels. Everyone has to do stuff like that. You just play good football each week and be consistent. And I think that's what Rhule is preaching, and I appreciate that. My parting shot is pretty simple. It's going out to Denver, seeing Redcast Dave, seeing producer Skip, and obviously Redcast Rob and the rest of the gang out there. It'll be a lot of fun. It's always a good college football weekend period, watching a bunch of games out there. But normally I go out there on a bye week. So there is a little bit of the nerves of just that we've got a game that we've got to take care of. But I'm confident in this team. I'm confident that they're going to keep getting better. We've said it so many times, there's warts and things that have to improve, but there's a lot that it's okay to be positive about too. And so, I think as everyone takes a step away from a game, they get a chance to go back and rewatch it. You watch it with a little bit less anxiety when you know the game's over and you know the outcome. And a lot of the things that really, really bothered me at the time didn't bother me as much the next day. And some of the things that still bother me, I'm pretty sure it bothers the coaches too. And so get those things fixed. And there's a lot of positives, a lot of W's I can see on this stretch ahead. And let's just get them. Let's earn every one of those. It's a great time to be a Husker. We've seen it with volleyball. We've seen it with football. We've got basketball now coming up. I mean, it's a great time. So until next week, that's another Go Big Redcast.
Go Big Red.
A Herd at Sports Network production.